donuts are in the back, please.
Somebody want to grab the door?
We ready, Mark?
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome. It's good to see some old faces returning. Thanks for coming.
They're all old faces.
Glad to be here. Yes, Carl.
Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that this was all set up yesterday at about 2 o'clock. I'm not sure, I know Mark was part of it, I'm not sure how many other people, but this is really quite a setup here.
It is. It is quite a setup, and it seems to work great at last meeting, maybe even better this time. As Bill told you, Lee Sky was supposed to be demonstrating birdhouses, something that he does very frequently, makes a lot of them. He couldn't make it because he called in sick. I got the message at about 10:09 yesterday morning. I had to work until 6. My daughter had a band thing going on until 8. So I had to, well, actually until 8:30. So I had to grab everything and bring it over. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. Birdhouses is not something I've done a lot of. Most of the ones I've done are about thumb size. We're going to do a little bigger one here. But it's a pretty common thing, and a lot of the techniques are the same as the ones you would use for making a box. So a little bit of hollowing, a little bit of fitting of mortise and tenon. We're going to start out with a piece of spalted maple here. This is red maple grown locally. My neighbor cut it down. I don't know why. Beautiful tree. But he threw it out, so I picked it up. It's soft, so, I'm not sure how it's going to turn. Like I said, it's really soft. I'm going to start. Word of caution, you should wear a face mask, some kind of face shield doing this. I have a really hard time seeing through my glasses and a face shield, and it also tends to muffle and cause problems for you to hear me. So we're going to do this without it. Just keep in mind that when you're turning, it can be dangerous, and you should wear safety equipment. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make a tenon on this end of the piece, do a little bit of rounding here so we can get some wood out of the way, and then flip it around and put it in the chuck. Start out with a peeling cut with a skew, just to get it round. There we go. Let me know if I need to stop here. Now, the important thing in making this tenon is that the tenon be approximately the same angle, pretty close to the same angle as your jaws of your chuck, and that you have a good square face on this surface so that when it comes up against the jaws, it's sitting on the front of the jaw, not the bottom of the jaw here. So I think that's going to work. Pop it out of there. Sorry, these jaws got a lot of residue in them from making tops at the fairground, so clean this out here. Okay, looks pretty secure. And we're just going to make that round. lot of people will use a roughing gouge for this. If it's relatively small and I can turn it pretty fast, I prefer using the skew. And I can just take down a section and move on. With the roughing gouge, it's more of a sideways movement, where the skew allows me to just go cut in until I pretty much think I have a piece that's round. I'm sorry, the wood? This is Florida red maple. It's pretty well spalted. It's kind of soft. Red maple's soft to start with, and this piece being spalted, we're gonna see here how it looks. See if we got too much tear out. We may have to switch to another piece of wood. So far, it's looking pretty good. So we'll switch to another camera here. We can get how about that one right there? Okay, so this is what we're making. It's a birdhouse. The one I'm going to make is going to be slightly different than this one. Bill Jones made this one, and he's made a lot of them. Again, I don't make very many birdhouses. I'm going to use a little different style. Bill says ambrosia maple and holly top is the best. I just use any kind of contrasting woods. One of the things you want to note if you're making a birdhouse ornament, the space on most Christmas trees between the branches is about that big, okay? Maybe a little taller. You'll notice if you look at Christmas ornaments, the biggest ones you can buy are maybe 3 inches in diameter. There's a reason for that. It's because when you hang it on this bough, you don't want it sitting sideways on the bough underneath. So that's about our size factor that we can work with. Bill gets these birds, again, he's found it.
Place that I don't even know the name of, I found it on the internet.
Found a secret source for them.
Michael's has them.
Yeah, but they're not as nice as these.
Those are made of mushrooms, they told me.
These?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I'm not going to do the finial thing here, but this is basically what we're going to look at. So, my pencil. If we look here, we've got a base that's approximately that tall. Part of it's inside the top, the roof here. So we're going to make it approximately that tall. And I'm just going to form the outside shape with my spindle gouge. This is actually a detail gouge. 3/8 detail gouge. Just rolling a large bead. Of course, the bottom is going to come all the way into a bead, but we don't want to take too much off the bottom until we're ready for that. We want the support down here, so we don't want to take too much wood out. There's the basic shape of our birdhouse. A lot of people will drill the holes before they turn the birdhouse body. it's a good idea. Do it on your drill press. Since I didn't know what size birdhouse I was going to make here, whether we were going to make a big one, small one, and I was in a hurry, I didn't do that. I did bring a drill with me. And one of the advantages of having the drill, the hole in it at this point, is that it allows you to see how thick the walls of the birdhouse body are as you're turning it. So I'm going to attempt to drill straight into this thing. What would be a nice spot to have I think this area here shows a lot of figure in the spalting. So I'm just going to try and make the hole right there. So if I go that way, yeah, we'll put it right between there. With a 1/4 inch bit. I don't know, about halfway. And then I'm going to use an 1/8 inch to make the perch. And most frequently when these are made, you'll see that the perch ends up right underneath the entrance hole. And Bill has, is that Dick Sing, not a Dick Sing, Dale Mish thing to move it off away from the hole so that when the bird is mounted on the perch, you can still see the hole.
5/8, 1/2 inch to the left or right of the hole that you just made, and 5/8 of an inch below.
Okay, so I'm just going to go
Yeah, you can
Wing it.
right about there. And it'd be a lot better if I'd done it on drill press because these holes would be straight and, et cetera, but it's not going to matter. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to make a hole in the middle.
You're gonna hollow this out?
Yep. We're going to hollow the inside. And I'm going to do that with a Forstner bit.
5/8.
I'm going to go a little bigger than that, make it easier. I think that's about 3/4. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, whenever you're drilling on the lathe, you should hold on to the chuck. And because that's a little close, I'm gonna move the tool rest out of the way. The reason being that sometimes your drill bit will get sucked in and pulled out of Morse taper. Sometimes when you're backing the chuck off, it will get loose in the Morse taper, and then you can end up with the chuck and the drill bit over here spinning around and not being supported by the tailstock. So that could be dangerous. Also, you'll note that I slowed the lathe down. This drilling generates a lot of heat, and it can negatively affect the piece that you're making with all that heat. So I also like to clear the chips frequently. Do you smell that maple? Let's just check and see how far we're in there.
I kept it so that I remember never to do it again. One of these days I'm gonna hit it with a hammer because I need to make a couple and I need that bit back. But it's in there.
You're not the only person.
So, I'm about that far down in. I need to go farther. I'd go another 1/4 inch at least, no problem. Oh, is that all the farther it's in there? I need to go farther than that. Yeah, I'm still just down to there, so I've got another 1/4 inch about to go, so.
Another way to do it is to put a piece of tape on a little bit shaft.
Yeah. Be a good idea if I had any tape. Okay, so now we're down to there. Could go a little farther, but we can hollow the rest of that with the tool. Now, I want to leave that inside edge right there because I got a nice round hole that's a fixed size, whatever size it is, whether it's the actual drill bit size or slightly over, but it's nice and round and it's solid. And I'm going to go inside of that and hollow out from there because that will give me a place I can put my tenon when I'm putting the top on.
Nice and square.
Yeah, exactly. Probably going to want some light here so we can see in there. Oops, pushed the wrong button. You see that here? Where should I go? Here?
Overhead.
Just going to use a round nose scraper. Real simple tool. Not reaching out very far. It's not a very big piece. So it shouldn't take too long. It should be pretty easy. one rule about scrapers, you want to have at least 5 times as much tool on this side of the tool rest as you do on that side. That'll help you to keep it from bouncing. Another thing, when you're turning on the inside of a piece, you want to be above center, because that way if you get a catch, it goes away from the wood. If you're turning below center and you get a catch on the inside, it goes down into the wood more. So we want to be slightly above center on the cutting edge. Okay, so it's still 1/4 inch thicker, so we're going to go fairly thin. You note that when I'm doing this, I have the tool under my arm. That keeps it from lifting up under the fulcrum force that's being applied out here, the moment. Well, it worked last time, let's try it again. Okay, that's more like it. Now we're down to a nice thin. We're a little thick up here at the top. I'm going to take a little wood out there. I'm going to use a different tool. This is a crown hollowing tool. I don't know if you can see it there. It's really nice for reaching under the lip, the edge. Here, let's see, up there. You see it well? Okay, we've also got a lump down here in the bottom now. Nobody's going to see it, but I want to take it out anyway. So the way to do that is to reach in with your tool, go underneath it, and just gradually lever the tool up until it comes out. Any other way of attack is just going to make your tool bounce around like that. So just put it underneath it and just gently lever it up. I'm going to take a little bit more out here at the top, and then we'll go with that. not bad. To do that one last cut thing.
What's the wall thickness, roughly?
1/8 an inch, maybe a little less right here in the middle. But it's more out here, a little bit more. There's a little bit of a ridge there, but again, it's not like anybody's going to see the inside of this thing. So there's no point in fighting to make this thing perfect on the inside.
Mostly to reduce the weight of it, so.
Yeah, so that when it hangs, it doesn't. Let's see. I'm going to do a little negative rake scraping here. See if I can get a little better finish on it. I'm using my skew. Should cut down on the amount of sanding required. It looks pretty good. So you'll notice that when I was negative rake scraping, I lifted the tool rest up. The reason for that is I want my tool to be on a downward angle. Besides the fact that it has a downward angle on the top of the skew here, I want it to be on a downward angle so that it will not catch, so that it will scrape without. And if you're up like this and you get a catch, it digs into the wood. If you're down like this and you get a catch, it goes away from the wood. So that's the reason for that. It's a little smaller. We could do some, what do I want to say? Scraping. What am I trying to say, Bruce? What kind of scraping on the shear scraping? There we go. Thank you. We're going to come back here and we're just going to get some wood out of the way. And then I'm just going to part this off because I'm going to finish it when I'm doing the roof. I'll pass this around. It being that it's very dry and very spalted, it doesn't weigh hardly anything. So I got a piece of something from India here.
India wood.
More mystery wood.
Many tops have been made.
Many tops have been made from this wood. We know this came from India because when I pull the pallets out of the dumpster, it has the sustainable forestry sticker on it, and it's printed with IN. Oops. Yeah.
Destroy it.
Balance test.
Yeah. It's pretty far on the chuck jaws, but it'll be okay. So again, I'm going to start by making a tenon on this so that I can turn it around, hold it in the chuck, and be secure. Also going to round off the last little bit of it.
Why not just, you're gonna make a shape like this? You could do that.
I could, but I want it to be, right now this thing is held by these 2 points and those 2 points, and if I happen to get a catch or something, and this thing could tip just a little bit, and that would throw off all my work. If I make a tenon that fits this chuck, it'll be held all the way around securely by the whole jaw face and the surface on the outside of the jaw here. And that will make it much less likely that if I make a mistake, that it will come back to haunt me.
You don't truly get the full jaw shape because the jaw has a certain
Curvature
contour, right?
depends on what size I make the tenon. If I make the tenon the right size, it'll be darn close.
That's what you aim for.
Yes.
The other thing, unless that's perfectly square,
Oh, it's not.
it's not, so only two of the jaws are.
There's a very good possibility that only 2 of them are touching right now, or 3, and only at those minor points that we talked about. Yeah, and something this big, maybe it doesn't matter, but this is general safety practices for anybody who's practicing this. Maybe if you were doing production, you wouldn't do this. I'm only going to make one birdhouse today. No, it's a valid question. I mean, if you're making birdhouses, you don't want to have to spend extra time doing steps that aren't required. Well, let's assume that you're doing this to actually sell them and try and make money. I mean, every minute you spend doing something that's not needed is wasted time and it is not making you money. Okay, so now we've got it held in the chuck securely with our tenon. I'm going to just make this piece round, and again, I'm going to use the screw to do that. There's a bit of a groove in that face there, and I want this to be smooth for my next step, so I'm just going to take that off. Thank you. Listen, we've got a nice smooth face there. I want the diameter of this to be larger than the body of my birdhouse, because I want the roof to stick out over it, obviously. The roof is supposed to stick out over your house. So my handy dandy calipers. It's about that big. So I've got enough room there if I make the roof. I can make this completely round and still make a nice projecting roof. And I need a tenon on here. Can you see that? Sorry, I'm not paying attention to the monitors. So I need a tenon on here that big. So, oh, that's too small. There we go. That size. I just used the points touching on only the side that's going down. Okay, so maybe I should make that clear. When I'm holding this up here, this leg is touching because it's being pushed up against the tool rest. That one is not, because if it does, then it's going to fling this thing back into my face. So I just get a good idea of where this is by pushing that side into the wood and seeing where it falls on the wood with the other point. Same thing you would do if you were using this kind of divider, okay, or caliper. Okay, so it's a little loose. We'll make it a little bigger. We got lots of wood to work with.
You can't make it bigger now.
And if you can see it from where I'm looking at, which you probably can't see it well enough, there's a slight taper here. And the idea is if I can get it tapered, then I can see how far it goes on, and I can make the whole rest of it that size and turn off the part that's too small. That's quicker than trying to cut it square and then cut another square and then another square. Okay, so it fits most of the way on. You can still go a little bigger than that. Okay. And you'll note that I've made a dish in this surface because I want the roof to come down partway over top of the body of the birdhouse. A little wider than that. A little bit smaller. Not quite.
Are you making a little recess for the?
Yes, I've made a little bit of a recess there, and I'm trying to make this a tight fit. It's not important for the birdhouse when it's finished, but I want to be able to come in here and use this for a jam chuck to finish off the bottom of my birdhouse body. So just about there. You can see it's stuck on there now, but it's not straight. So tiny bit more.
At this point, you can just glue it together. Are you gonna do that eventually?
Yes, but there's a little more work I want to do on the inside of the roof before I get there.
I'm thinking by the time you get around to finishing the bottom, the glue would be solid.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of gluing.
Yeah, so do I.
It's tough to make a jam truck for 1,000 people.
Yeah, I just pushed down a little hard and cracked it. Okay. Like I said, I don't do this a lot, so there may be some things here you can do better. Okay, so I'm going to hollow out the inside of the roof here some, get some of the weight out of it. I can't take all of it out because it's that shape. Just take some weight out of there. There we go. And then I'm going to shape the outside of the roof. Yeah. There's a lot of wood that's got to come out of here. I'm just gonna make a little relief there so I can. Still got a little bit of the outside surface of the wood left here, so.
Why did you make that first cut?
So that it make it easier to make the next one. It makes it easier to do this. Before I get this too small up here, I want to make sure I've got everything going properly down here. Got a little fuzz in there. I want to get that out. A little less wood down here as well.
Couldn't you finish the top pretty much with that setup? No?
Not until I get the bottom done.
Excuse me?
Not until I get the bottom done. If I do the top now, when I want to do the bottom here, if I make this too small here,
It'll be weak.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, finish the bottom, but then you finish the top.
Yep. That's the plan. Okay, so. If it's a good jam chuck, I shouldn't need this. But, yeah. Yeah, exactly. What we got here? I'm actually going to use this center instead. I think I can get closer to the center with this one.
Right, I think you could just put a flat piece of wood on the end of the top, couldn't you?
Well, if I did that, then I'd be running into the piece of wood when I'm trying to get to the center. If I had a piece of flat wood there, yeah.
Against the top.
Yeah.
Forget about the.
Against here.
No. Remove the bottom piece. And put,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remove that and just put a flat piece of wood.
Well, that wouldn't finish my bottom.
That's good. You do that.
Where did I put my, There it is. Detail gouge. Oh. You can see it's slightly out, but it's going to be close enough for what I want to do. Now, I'm not going to do any finishing on this, obviously, because this is just, this isn't the time and place for it. But at this point, you want to sand everything. To whatever your finished sandpaper is going to be. And that depends on your wood and your market and what kind of finish you're actually going to put on it. Sure.
For opinion on that thing, I would leave that little end that you got on the bottom of the piece right there,
Mm-hmm.
pin, and then drill a hole, and that way it's got some glue.
You could do that, or you could do it the opposite way. You can, at this point, you can drill a hole in there.
Hole in there, yeah, either way you can do it.
Yeah.
You got that
You
little piece sticking out.
could glue this thing together at this point if you wanted. I'm not going to do it just because I want to do some other things here. But yeah. Sanding revealed some unevenness in this, and I want to clean that up a little bit. So, another safety point: remove the center drill bit, anything that you're using before you do this. Most of us have learned that the hard way.
You could fit right over some of the tailstock, and it'll protect your hand.
That-
So you have a long bed.
Okay, that should be good enough on the inside of there. Now let's get rid of some wood. see how far down in here I went with my drill bit. So that far up, it has to be that diameter, so. Okay. Okay, that's the result of not having the point in the wood before I started to push it in. And that kind of run back can spoil things if you're not careful. Yeah. That far, and that big. So, yeah, got a little ways to go. Now, I don't want to make a straight surface here just because it's uninteresting. If I make a straight line, it's just boring. So I've tried to make a slight curve down to the top. Sorry?
You're gonna have a little knob at the top.
Yeah, I am. But it's, at this point, it's a little big. Let's see what our proportions look like. Yeah, top might be a little too tall, but it's not bad. I think we'll call it good. And again, you're going to want to sand this as you go. I'm not going to. I'm gonna take a little more wood out of the top of this. Are we looking on time? And eventually I've got to put a hole through the top of this for my for the whatever loop or whatever it is you're going to use for suspension on the top of it. So I'm going to try doing that right now. And one of the reasons I just went in there with that drill bit was so that this one wouldn't have to go through so much wood and wouldn't be so tempted to wander off center. We'll see what happens when I part it off, whether that hole is in the middle or not. Or if it even goes all the way through. And you notice that I'm advancing the drill and backing it off. I'm trying to keep the flutes from being jammed up with chips. Especially on a small drill bit. Yes, it's only wood. Well, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Let's do this. Just for fun. It's that far in. Oh, not all the way through yet.
So was that noise, the chuck hitting the?
It was the face here touching on the back face of the wood there.
Chuck was hitting.
Yeah. Okay, so my drill bit isn't long enough to go all the way through with what I've got, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And we'll have to drill it from the top. And Blaine, I'm with you on this one. Fast speed does sand better as long as you don't overheat. Just rolling the gouge to make a nice bead here. Hopefully it's a nice bead. And that's it. We need to drill a hole in the top. See if we can do it.
It's hard to do that.
I don't think that's going to work. And it's not in the center, but I don't think it's going to matter. Somewhere around here, I got some little hooks, don't know where they are. Nope, that's not them either. There. There should be a loop rather than a hook, but I don't have any loops, so. Again, this was put together late last night. Well, there's where we're at so far. We still need a perch. You got enough wood there? Probably. Okay, so we're not down to 125,000 yet. That was a little too small. Yeah, not bad. You gonna sit on there? Where's a bird? Don't know what I did with the birds. Anybody see the birds? I know there were two of them up here somewhere. They were red. Oh, there they are. Trying to fly away. Okay, so sandpaper. Clean the end of that off. Now there's a little bit of stuff in this hole, so I'm going to clean it out a little bit. Almost lost my stick.
Wow.
Now I get the sawdust off it. I got stuck on the glue. Okay. Now I'm not going to glue the bird on here because this is not my bird. This is Bill's bird. So.
Put a drop of glue on the bottom of the bird.
Okay.
Spray the accelerator on the peg and put the bird on.
Yeah, I like using that technique. I like to put the accelerator on one side and the glue on the other.
You won't have to hold it very long, it'll be fine.
Okay, let's see if I can hold the bird.
Just one drop on the belly, that's all. Should be good. There you go.
Now, I've shown you one way to do this. There are as many ways to do this as there are wood turners. You can. There are so many different variations of the way you can do this. It's up to you. If you're doing this for production, you're going to do it differently than I just did. If you're only making one, do it however you like. Thanks, guys.
Show it right up the camera.
Good job.
Which way? This way?
Yep, there you go.
There, that's good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job.
Okay, now I understand we're going to go right into the gallery?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me a shot on 4. Blake, you want to come up?
Oh, okay.
Start?
Can we get a break?
Nope.
No, we're gonna break after.
A lot of Jewish friends. So I decided to try to create the Star of David. And I did it in a number of different ways. I used trigonometry and a little geometry to figure the dimensions study. This Star of David is made from 6 check-shaped pieces. Can you see that? Just this sort of thing. And the math was fairly straightforward, but when I constructed these check-shaped pieces, they did not fit exactly right. On my first try, it took a lot of adjusting. And by the way, let's see, in this example, the check is made like this, but I made, let's see, is this similar? Yeah.
That's all there are.
That's all there.
One you gotta run the block.
And gee, I guess this one, no? Yes. Yes. This example is slightly different in that the check pieces go like this rather than like this. I don't know if you can, I think the difference is too subtle. Because of the difficulty I had in putting these together, no, there's, this one I constructed by making 6 triangles and then trimmed off the edges. Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. And an even simpler way, I think the big one I want now. Is that? No. Damn. I apologize. I guess I didn't bring. Anyway, I'm taking way too much time. I thought this piece was interesting because I used, instead of polyurethane, I used what they call polyacrylic. It's made by Minwax, and it's a water-based poly, and it doesn't darken the aspen. Aspen usually, this is aspen, this wood, and it usually comes out kind of yellow when I use the oil-based poly. It's much whiter using the water-based poly. Unfortunately, the water-based poly is quite a bit more expensive. It's $20 for a quart as opposed to about $12 for the oil-based. Okay, thank you. Jeez.
Bill, you want to talk about your birdhouse?
Borrow your stuff.
Oh, yeah. Take it out.
We should be able to just speak in front of the camera, we can go ahead and turn that off. Turn it off.
Don't need this one?
No.
Okay, I don't need it, so you can give it back to them. As far as grandkids, he had 18 grandkids, and he made a different one every year. The interesting part of this is he used ambrosia maple for the base and pink ivory for the top and the finial at the bottom, a regular dowel for the bird's roost, and holly, African blackwood for a little feature stripe. And what I do with those is I dowel them together. I make the piece and then cut the whole assembly at once. I have a fixture that I put in to make the roof and the base ornament. And it takes about the same time to make all the parts and put them together. But I like that design. Also, you can do similar birdhouse ornaments using finials top and bottom. In this case, I use blackwood, and using the shells that come from the ocean up in the Northwest Pacific Northwest. Yes.
Did you cut those shells?
Yes, yeah. You have to drill the openings to get them nice and round too, and you got to be careful because the shells can separate.
Yeah.
But they do glue back together in the event they separate. But they make nice ornaments, and you can color them, you can do all kinds of stuff with them. There are a couple of different models that also Craft Supplies used to sell as kits. They don't sell this one for some reason. I guess this was one of Dale's favorites, and when he passed on, they retired the kit, so they don't make it anymore. Holly in 2-inch size is tough to get, so the white aspen might work equally as well. As long as you don't put a finish on it, it's going to change the color. Maple works though, so you can use maple also.
I used to, when I made them, I sometimes took my texturing tool.
Yeah.
And put a,
Oh, you can do all
There's
kinds
so
of
much you can do
decorations,
with
yeah,
that.
and there's many ways to make it. I find if I'm making a lot of these, and sometimes I make them 10 at a time.
Yeah.
I use the fixtures. And I have the drawings. If anybody's interested, just email me and I would be glad to send you the drawings for this particular model. So that's it.
Phantom,
Whose is it?
the Phantom. He's not, I don't know. He left.
Me?
No. What's that?
Who's this open one?
It's Brian.
So I turned
Over here,
this
Brian.
over here.
No,
In front of the camera.
This
In
camera.
the middle? Okay, here. Right here?
Yep.
Do you see it?
Yeah, that's good.
good.
Okay, so I turned this little bowl out of maple. I think I did it when I was living in St. Augustine, so what, 10 years ago? And I carved it, the outside of it into leaf shape, into flower petal shape, and left some lines in the middle here to kind of show the overlapping pieces. And it sat around in my house for years, and I was never really satisfied with it. Never had a finish on it. There were several issues about it that I didn't care for. It wasn't a bad piece, it just wasn't good enough.
You're a perfectionist.
Yeah. So I decided I'd try piercing on it. And it's a pretty good subject for piercing. It's maple. It's kind of thick. It's like 1/4 inch thick in some spots. It goes down to an 1/8 inch thick in other spots. But it wasn't too bad. The thinner stuff is, the quicker and easier it is to pierce. And if you got something that's a 32nd or a 64th of an inch thick, you can almost go with a high-speed tool like you were writing. This takes a little longer. I use a technique where I'll poke holes all the way through with my burr and then go back and connect the holes together. And that makes the shape. This is a mini die grinder from Harbor Freight. It's a little red tool, runs at 60,000 RPMs, not a real high RPM one like a dental tool. And I also used the little carbide cutters that I got from Harbor Freight. They're like $5 for a package of 6 or 8 of them. Yeah, they're really cheap. Yeah, they break. Okay.
Yeah.
$5. So it works pretty good. I also bought a really good tool for this. I bought a dental loop. It's a headset, goes on my head with a headband, has two 2.5 power lenses that flip down in front of my glasses, and has an LED light on it. So yeah, so at about this distance, it has about a 4-inch field of view that's in focus, and it's pretty good one. You can go from like right here to right here and still be in focus. You can get them really cheap. The one I bought cost $250. And you can get them really expensive. They come thousands of dollars. Okay? But this one seems to be, I chose it because it had a large field of view, low magnification, and a good depth of field. So if anybody cares, it's a Vacker, V-A-K-K-E-R, like all of them. It's made in China. But
That's $250?
yeah. And like I said, you can get them cheap. You can get ones for under $100. I don't know how good they are. I decided to get one that had all the specs that I could view, and so that's what I got. But anyhow, that's the bowl.
Carl?
I nearly finished this yesterday. I thought I'd bring it in
Take
anyway.
a half step back, Carl.
There you go, perfect.
And I'll be candid about it. I wanted it to be shorter. I intended it to be shorter, but I wound up making it small, a little too small at the top here, because I wanted this flare. This flare at the top. So I couldn't make it shorter because I already started hollowing. Anyway, so the shape is a little tall. It sort of looks like a cookie jar, I guess. The top piece, of course, was cut from the same log, that top part. It's mahogany. And I put some, make up a 1-to-1 ratio of linseed oil and mineral spirits to coat it initially, so I can see how the colors come out. And also it shows up any tool marks or scratches from sanding, so I still have to resand some of it, and then put a shinier finish on it. But I guess the best thing you could say about this piece, it's a beautiful piece of wood.
I've never seen mahogany. Well, again, northern mahogany is a different color altogether.
Yeah, it's funny, I put some pieces on Etsy, and I called it Cuban mahogany, and they wouldn't show them. They refused to show it because it's Cuban. They thought I got it from Cuba.
If you call it
Florida
mahogany, then it would work.
Yeah, it's Florida mahogany, but I guess Cuba and Florida were connected at one time. Anyway, it's the same species that grows in Cuba. But it had some interesting character in the wood. So,
Was it dry when you worked it?
yeah, it was dry.
How do you get a big piece like that dry?
Well, in this, you cut the log. This is about the diameter of the wood. Initial diameter of the log was about this. It was irregularly shaped. It was kind of oval, but this was the minimum diameter dimensions. And I did coat the ends of it with the liquid wax, so it would dry slower. But I also put it in a plastic bag too, which does tend to slow it down even more. I also want to mention another reason I put the oil and the mineral spirits on here is it's got a cracker. There was a branch. I can't see it though. But there was a little branch off the side of this where it dried unevenly and started to crack. There's a hairline crack here. And so what I'll do is, once I put the oil and mineral spirits on there, I can sand it so it fills the crack. It's not so obvious. Before I put I'll probably put a shinier finish on here, either a Danish oil or the polyurethane finish on it.
But wouldn't it take years for that piece with the end sealed to dry?
6 months to a month.
No,
Depends on your definition
Yeah.
of dry.
yeah, it wasn't totally dry, but it was dry enough to turn and it wouldn't warp. And besides, this is end grain turning, which doesn't warp, or the warp is not as obvious. If you do a side grain, like a bowl side grain, then the warping really shows it. Unless you do it the natural edge. Oh, and if it warps, but it doesn't look as bad.
Here's a small piece. I did this several years ago, but this is a piece of crabwood, or also called oyster wood. Grows down in the Keys. It's pretty hard to get hold of. We had an eccentric fellow that some of us knew, Doug, I forget his last name, but that was our source for the crabwood. But has a dramatic difference between the sapwood and the heartwood, and just sanded it down to 400 grit and put wax on it. And it's a beautiful wood to work with.
Hard to get that, not
Very hard to get.
It's normally correct.
They always have crack in the heart. Yeah, always.
They always have bugs in the heart.
Yeah.
Well, I did this about a month ago. Was supposed to be a regular bowl, but I kind of like the piece of mahogany that I had here. So it came out pretty good. And I put some friction polish on it, and it came out okay. And I had a texture tool that I put on the bottom. And the top was made out of the same type of wood, but of course I painted it black with some lacquer. And this little finial, my first time trying this, and it came out okay, but it's my first time, so I'll keep trying.
Yeah, I had a birthday a while ago last month, and I decided it was time to make a cane for myself, but I don't have a long lathe. So I made it in pieces, this and the connector. Well, I can't drill a hole concentrically. Never been able to do that, perfectly in to put it together. So what I did is I cut each piece with a tender on each end, and inside this section is a steel pipe that I picked up at Home Depot, tubing. And I had to cover that with something, so this is mahogany. I guess it's the Philippine variety. It's all the dark. It's from a mill, I think, and for door frames, cut off, left over. This is a piece of rosewood somebody gave me. There's some walnut oak in here, and there's a couple little fillers in here that came out of a Venetian blind. Because I needed a thin piece of wood, that I had the pieces of wood lying around. But basically that's, so it's a piece of steel in there. I don't know if it'll get through TSA or not,
Yeah.
but that would be a problem perhaps. But basically that was the only way I can do it, is to make it in pieces. I'm trying another one now. And it works good. The big thing is get the height right.
Yes.
Yep.
Good job.
Okay,
Bill, did we pass out tickets for?
no, I'm doing, before we break, yeah, let's.
Bill, you're done with the show and tell.
Yes. These will be the bring back tickets, and we'll do.